Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Hayes, and this is MMOPINION, a bite-sized show where we talk about topics relevant to the MMO gaming landscape and I give my opinions on them. Each week we'll look through another question or point of view within the industry and analyse it. These videos are kept short enough to be interesting and long enough to hopefully generate a discussion in the comments. If you have a question or theory about the MMO world you want discussed, then leave it in the comments below or message me on Discord. As usual, a massive thank you to my Patreon supporters and Twitch subs who make my channel possible. Right, let's begin. This week, why you cannot kill World of Warcraft. Now that's a powerful statement and will instantly divide most of you. You'll either be nodding along and agreeing or screaming about how WoW is overrated and terrible and there are better games out already, and you're kind of both right. But let me put it this way. You cannot kill World of Warcraft because it's not just a game anymore. It's evolved into something much, much stronger and more widespread, and this is precisely what keeps it from dying. Now, I'm not saying you can't make a better game. I'm saying even if you did, you still wouldn't kill it. Now that sounds odd, so let's investigate. Now this could easily be an entire essay, but I'm going to trim the fat and only put forward what I believe is the strongest, most condensed argument for the immortality of World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft wasn't the first MMO, actually far from it. It has predecessors such as Asheron's Call, EverQuest, or Ultima Online. They were out for years before, but even they were inspired by even older games like Tibia, the original online Neverwinter, or the island of Kesmai. The MMO genre had existed and been pretty popular before World of Warcraft came along, but World of Warcraft had something those other games didn't: mass market appeal. Now, EverQuest was popular, Ultima Online was popular, but World of Warcraft was an absolute phenomenon. Quite simply, more people played it. The graphic requirements were low, so minimum spec machines could run it. The gameplay was much more simple than the stat-heavy MMOs of the time, so it appealed to people wanting a more streamlined approach to gameplay. And they had an absolutely massive marketing budget, which, combined with the fact they were springboarding off the success of the Warcraft real-time strategy franchise, made for a perfect storm of a game that was easy to find, easy to run, and easy to play, and it was being pushed left, right, and centre. World of Warcraft swept onto the MMO scene like an absolute tidal wave, and not only did it round up all of the non-MMO players and introduce them to MMOs, it stole vast amounts of players from the already established games. Its success was immense. You can't deny the success of the game even if you hate it. It is still used as the player base yardstick other games are measured against. When a new game releases or gets an expansion, the question of does it compare to WoW during Wrath of the Lich King always comes up, and the answer is always no. No, it doesn't. So love it or hate it, the simple fact remains that World of Warcraft made a massive impact on the MMO landscape for better or worse, and now every single game designer wanted a slice of that pie. They wanted to either match or, due to having lofty aspirations, exceed World of Warcraft's success. They wanted to make the game that they would describe, and the description has now become a cliché phrase, the WoW killer. Over the years, World of Warcraft grew, putting out expansion packs, TV adverts with popular celebrities, board games, books, posters, and slowly gathered a cosplay community and eventually an entire convention. And it's this exact expansion, away from the virtual and into the real, that has guaranteed its place in the gaming landscape forever. To explain this to both World of Warcraft lovers and haters, and to remove nostalgia and prejudice, let's examine a similar situation with something neutral. Let's look at two unlikely things that actually experience the same cultural impact: football and Pokemon. Now, you don't need to like football or Pokemon for this analogy to work. Personally, I'm indifferent to football, and while I like the Pokemon franchise, I'm not a hardcore fan, so this works quite well. Imagine someone saying they were going to make a better sport than football, and thus become more popular than football. Now this is the fallacy. The idea that if a sport is better, it would instantly become more popular, because those two are separate things. Just because something is better, objectively or subjectively, does not mean it will instantly, or over time, become more popular. Because Football is not just the 90 minutes on the pitch being played. It's so much more. It's the merchandising, it's the advertising, it's the temple-like stadiums built to it. It's the queues of people waiting to get in, it's the cult, it's the tribal warfare that's simulated between rival teams, the analysis of the after-game tactics, the posters, the team allegiances, the rivalries between famous teams, the drink with your mates in a pub after discussing the game, the kickabout in the park. It's a personality to some. Some people make the game their entire existence. Now consider, even if a sport did come along that was objectively more fun to play, more fun to watch, easier to get into and yet more complex to master, even if that sport was created, it would not have the immediate tribal loyalty that football already has. It wouldn't have the temples to playing, the advertising power of FIFA, the established governing bodies. The new sport being a better sport is actually only a very small part of the success puzzle. This is also apparent in the advertising for FIFA games. The advert literally says, with football, you are never alone. They're not pushing the sport or the game. They're enticing you with the community. For a more geek-appropriate example, and one that I would be able to empathise with more, consider Pokemon. While it started as a card game and an anime, it is now the highest-earning franchise in the world. It's got movies, it's got multiple TV shows, and endless merchandise. It is McDonald's toys. Pokemon may have started life as a card game, but it is now so much more. So when someone says, I'm going to make a better card game than Pokemon, they might actually be able to do that. But it won't matter, because being a good card game is no longer what keeps Pokemon alive. It is now a self-sustaining entity. It's relevant simply for being popular, and popular simply for being relevant. It's a cycle that continues itself. It has pushed past what it began as and transcended. It is more. It is a phenomenon unto itself. And you will not beat this simply by making a better card game. An example would be, objectively, Magic the Gathering is a more complex card game than Pokemon, and yet it hasn't reached anywhere near the mass appeal of the little yellow mouse. To bring it back to gaming, this is the situation we are in with World of Warcraft. It may have begun life as an online game, Horde versus Alliance, and if that was all it still is, then dethroning it would be a simple task. All you'd need to do is make an objectively better game and players would have no reason not to switch, but that isn't the case. Long-time World of Warcraft players aren't just playing because it's a good game. They're playing because it's a community. It's a familiar, nostalgic place to exist. It's a childhood memory that's sustained itself into adulthood. It is a lifestyle to them, with clans and Twitch streamers and YouTube personalities covering it. Playing Warcraft means you are part of something much, much larger than just a game. It means you're part of a subculture. And just as with football, with Warcraft, you are never alone. World of Warcraft has evolved beyond what it began as. It's affected popular culture so strongly it's merged into it. It made the incredible leap that very few works of media can do. It inserted itself into the cultural zeitgeist and it remained. There are very few books, games, films, stories, or people that can become so well known within a smaller subculture that they bleed into and infest popular culture. Very few things ever make the leap from known by a small few to known by everyone. World of Warcraft has followed the same relevancy journey as football, Star Wars, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, The Beatles, Bruce Lee, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Monopoly, McDonald's, YouTube, Tesla, Warhammer, or any other figure or creation that began as something relatively well known within a small subculture and then became so stunningly popular it managed to entrench itself in general culture. Ultimately, you will not kill World of Warcraft because even though it started life as a video game, it has grown and morphed into so much more. People have brought the Horde and the Alliance conflict into real life, and the world of Azeroth is now, historically, more fleshed out than some actual real-life ancient civilizations. It's no longer just an MMO game, and therefore another MMO game will not kill it. World of Warcraft is a personality, a characteristic, a cult, a milestone of modern gaming. It is a grandfathered in industry standard. It's a cookbook, a branded mouse mat, a convention, a cosplayer, an action figure, a Hollywood blockbuster, a novel, an audio novel, a comic, a curiosity, an addiction, a board game, a collectible card game. It's a fashion, a tattoo, a South Park episode, a celebrity endorsement. It is an entire culture. And you do not kill a culture by making a good video game. Developers see the success of World of Warcraft, then they see that World of Warcraft is a game, and they think that the success can therefore be reproduced simply by making another game. But that's absolutely not the case. They think they can kill WoW by making a better game than WoW, and this thinking is flawed, because even if they do make a better game, the game they make is extremely unlikely to spawn a more successful culture, and so it will always ultimately fall short of killing WoW. Think of the games that came the closest. Final Fantasy XIV is using the might of the Final Fantasy franchise and the funding of Square Enix. It already had a culture behind it. It had cosplayers, cookbooks, even a real-life Eorzea cafe in Japan, and it still hasn't done it. Then the Elder Scrolls Online, with the popular success of Skyrim leading many offline single players to the online Elder Scrolls Online. And it has a pre-established fan base, and it's a good MMO, and it still didn't dethrone the king. Even Lord of the Rings Online, a game based on one of the most successful fantasy franchises in history, still wasn't enough to shift the cultural significance of World of Warcraft. Ironically, the most damaging MMORPG to release was World of Warcraft Classic, because the best way to damage a cult is to split that cult into smaller sections and invite civil war. Killing WoW is no longer a case of simply making a better MMO, because WoW isn't just an MMO. It's a part of gaming history. The players have time invested. The marketing has legendary adverts. Chuck Norris, Mr. T. Guilds, clans, and player groups have been formed for years and are held together now not necessarily by love of the game itself, but by love of the community, and they will always remain so. The impact of World of Warcraft will never be less relevant. The long-time players will never be less invested, and the new generation of gamers will never be less curious about trying it. And that is why you cannot kill World of Warcraft, because it's no longer just a game. It's a part of our very culture. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me in this episode of MMOPinion. If you disagree, feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to discuss this with you. If you've liked the video, then drop a like or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell so you don't miss a single future video. A massive thank you to my Patreon supporters and Twitch subs. You can support the Patreon from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. And, as always, have a great day.